Don't blame it on the edit, you're the one who said it. I can play that game too. So Ru, what do you think about children with disability?
I would go ravenous on certain people.
Certain people?
I would try to hurt them. Not physically, not physically,
yeah.
but
Thank God.
In a mental way that they could never recover from.
But Mama, I thought you were such a sweet person. Are you faking it?
I'm faking this whole thing of hey, no, I'm not faking. I can do that. That's truly me.
Oh, okay. Well, don't blame it on the edit, bitch. You're the one who said it, bitch. Now, I know what you're thinking. Who is that song referring to? Is it Jeffrey? Is it someone else? Well, stick around to the end of the video and I will give you my best bet. So, for today's video, I want to do the insane thing of challenging the idea that blaming it on the edit means trying to avoid accountability. And to do that, I'll show you exactly what blaming it on the edit actually means, using some example from past queens. And spoiler alert, it's not just about words. Then we're going to discuss the quiz reactions on social media, but most importantly, try to explain why RuPaul is desperately trying to push this specific message. And since you're here, please click the upvote button or subscribe if you are a new viewer, because that really helps the channel. No, we're not cancelled yet, although they seem to be trying pretty hard lately. Could be because of my extensive knowledge and use of profanities, which seems to contradict what's otherwise a still limited vocabulary in English. Yeah, I say fuck too much. Like, oh hey, sure seems like RuPaul doesn't give a fuck about anything but her own Russie. Or, do you remember when Britta fucking overdosed while World of Wonder was lining its pockets with the publicity that came from a villain edit? You know, fucked up things like that. Sorry, did I say fuck again? I meant, oh my, F word. Wink wink. Of course, that doesn't matter if they decide to abuse the YouTube copyright system to counteract the amount of receipt that I'm going to bring against RuPaul's bullshit. I wouldn't exclude that possibility. And yes, the next video will be about how critical content creators have found themselves in strange and exotic circumstances, us included. Stay tuned. The issue of the edit is a cornerstone of the Drag Race review that we do on this channel. Frankenstein sentences, queens teleporting through time and space, or convenient omissions and exaggerated situations seem to be at the very core of what World of Wonder considers entertainment. Now, you know that drama sells, and if there is not enough drama, it will be happily manufactured for you, at the expenses, of course, of our entertainers that get routinely treated like disposable assets by a production team wise enough to have them sign away every possibility of retaliation for being subjected to a form of treatment that everywhere else in the world would be considered downright abuse. Yes, abuse, because twisting someone's words against them is not enough anymore, and gaslighting contestants to the point of breakdown is a new frontier in an industry that has quickly grown to gigantic proportion, spawning countless spin-offs that effectively rendered off-season a thing of the past, and enlarging the pockets of the very same people who will happily turn a blind eye whenever it's convenient for them, all the while preaching love and acceptance in one breath, while dismissing and outright denying the dignity of those who helped them build their massive empire in the other. Don't blame it on the edit, bitch. You're the one who said it. That's just the latest propaganda, pushed by, yes, I know, yes, propaganda is the right word, pushed by RuPaul herself to convey the idea that they are doing nothing wrong, that they have no responsibility in the way their contestants are perceived, that taking words out of context is not only legitimate, but should be normalized, and the very idea of normalizing the surgical separation of words from their context is as despicable as it is insidious. With the Drag Race franchise attracting younger and younger viewers, instilling the idea that context doesn't matter can have and already has had catastrophic consequences. But apparently RuPaul doesn't care, and I mean, why would she? She's living her best life on her fracking farm, amassing millions upon millions while giving zero shits if the show bankrupted you. And that's why they call her mother, by the way. But I digress. So younger viewers and naive viewers watch the show thinking that it's an accurate depiction of reality, and then they act upon that belief. And RuPaul's and World of Wonder's ability to continue to amass large amounts of money seems to be inextricably connected to reinforcing that belief, no matter the human cost behind it. There is a difference between owning your words and action and having to defend yourself when they get twisted and turned, resulting in massive amount of backlash that will threaten your career, personal safety, financial security, and mental stability for literally decades to come. You don't believe me? Well, ask Jeremy, the artist formerly known as Fifi O'Hara. 10 years and the change of name later, he still has to face abuse and disrespect on an almost daily basis. Yeah, I know, that is fucking insane, but that is what's happening. So, what does exactly mean blaming it on the edit? The thing that RuPaul says you shouldn't do. Well, if you're new to this channel, you might have never heard of some of the things I'm about to say, or maybe it's things you already noticed, but just couldn't put your finger around what they exactly meant in the grand scheme of things. There are many different ways in which the things you say or do while filming Drag Race can be used against you, and our friends at World of Wonder can flawlessly master all of them, of course. Now, this list is by far not complete, and if I missed something important, let me know in the comments, and I'll add those in future videos. Number 1. Taking them out of context. This is what happens when something you say is used in another situation, or made it look as if it was referred to a different person instead of the one you originally meant. I wanted you to imagine joking, for example, maybe of how proud you are of your fat ass, only to be shown as if you are fat-shaming someone. You know, that sort of uplifting things. Your words are still your own, but what changes is the context in what they are used, giving them a totally different meaning. And that can be catastrophic, especially if for some reason you get triggered while filming Drag Race. Like it happened to Jeremy, for example. Since production wanted to create this narrative that Fifi O'Hara was being constantly nasty toward everyone throughout the whole season, they used her words out of context multiple times. Oh, you want a more recent example? Well, the same happened to Jen in All-Star 6. At the very beginning of her villain edit, when nobody basically suspected what was going to happen, this happened. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but the second confessionals doesn't come from the same time frame. At some point after filming ended, Jen sat down and filmed a confessional in which she was asked questions about the whole season. It is from that confessional that this clip was taken. We don't know what she was originally talking about, but regardless, it was used to make her look as if she was plotting against Akira, and it was all downhill from then on. Number 2. Omitting circumstances. Yes, because sometimes there is no need to teleport your words through space and time. A simple omission can do the job quite well and fool the viewers into believing the most outrageous things. Like it happened to Max. After RuPaul asked him if everything was okay, the scene was cut abruptly to Max singing, creating the impression that he went completely insane. But in between those two scenes, a lot happened that was conveniently cut out to portray Max as if he lost his mind.
Max, are you okay?
So I can't quite recall overnight sensation.
And that's called storytelling, children. Now, we know that this happened because Max left an interview in which he explained that RuPaul actually asked him to sing because it would somehow help him with his breathing. Of course, some believed him and some didn't. But 2 years later, World of Wonder confirmed what Max actually said. And this was a rare example that came a little bit too late to actually make any difference. The fact that Max spoke out about what happened to him, despite the fact that it was later confirmed, would cause him to get cut off from the franchise, like it happened to many others, and never to be spoken again. Because no matter how they edit you, you have to go along with it. Otherwise, this company that has a basic monopoly on the drag industry will simply deny you work. You will not be invited back. Number 3. Manipulating the context to misconstrue its meaning. In a more recent example, during season 13, Utica was tasked with writing a roast for a live show. Now, regardless of context, Utica's jokes were portrayed as offensive, completely ignoring the fact that offensive comedy is the very definition of a roast. And you might think there is not much difference there, but there is a world of difference, because one thing is roasting someone, another is taking a random stranger and insulting him. Now, to reinforce this narrative, the whole judging panel gave convincing performances of being seemingly offended by Utica, and with the cherry on top of removing laughs to her jokes, adding convenient silence and reaction shots of people looking as if they were shocked by Utica's words, Utica's narrative was complete. No one on the production team did anything to clarify the situation, and why would they? They are the ones who worked so hard on building that narrative to begin with. The only support that came for Utica came from her fellow queens. Number 4. Exaggerating the situation. This is one of my favorite, or like production likes to say, dramatizing. In All Stars 4, Pheromone fell during one of the 2 takes for her talent show. Now, despite the fact that she pleaded to production not to use the take in which she fell, they went along with it anyway, because of course, who gives a shit about Farrah? During the episode, her fall was shown a total of 3 times. And that was not enough, because a reaction shot of the queens looking completely shook was taken from Latrice's performance and added to Farrah's. Now, I don't know if many of you know, but Latrice dropped the flag during her talent, but none of that was shown. And in addition to all of this, Monique was even teleported through time and space to make it look as if she was doubling down on Farrah. As a result, Farrah was universally looked at as a joke. Messy, unprofessional, someone that should go back to RuPaul's School for Girls instead of performing on stage. Of course, she lost gigs, because why not? Who would want an unprofessional person? She lost self-confidence, and due to her emotional investment in the situation, she also ended up needing therapy. How do we know, we ask? Well, we did our research in this video, and Farrah herself left a comment explaining exactly what happens in detail, and I suggest you go read that. Number 5. Creating new sentences that never existed to begin with, also known as Franken sentences. This is basically when the words that you spoke are reorganized to form new sentences that have nothing to do with what you said. This is by far the most manipulative form of editing, since nothing of your original intentions are left to the viewer. Nothing, not even 10%. And these have become progressively more difficult to spot. Oh, you think that's bad? Well, take everything that I just said and multiply it by a factor of 10. And that's what you're gonna get if you are a queen of color typecast to be a villain on the season. Isn't the world full of wonders? So by this point, I hope you realize that the edit, it's not just a matter of words. Actions can be taken out of context. Judges can be instructed to lie in order to further a specific idea, and cut and paste can effectively transform you or your performance into something that it's not. The issue of the edits goes well beyond simply talking about words. And this is exactly the point. So put yourself in RuPaul's situation for a moment. You are getting millions upon millions from this franchise, and you will continue to get millions. But the whole thing rests upon the fact that the young viewers believe that everything they see is real. So, since so much criticism has finally arisen for the way the queens are portrayed on screen, how can you make it look as if it's all their fault and not your own? Well, just ignore the judges saying bullshit to push a narrative, ignore the shady noises, ignore the eerie music, ignore the teleporting of queens and switchy confessionals, and only talk about words. Keep it simple, right? Just reduce the whole issue to a matter of who said what. You said it. You have to own it. That's really the last stand that you can make to defend an indefensible cause. Now, what's even more despicable in all of this is that Mama, well, Mama in quotes, also tries to push the idea that you're not allowed to regret the things that you say, which conveniently goes very well with the narrative that everything you say or do on Drag Race is what you are for the rest of your life. Unless production is nice enough to give you a redemption edit during All Stars, but make no mistakes, they don't give a shit about you. Redemption seasons like All Star 6 happened because we demanded over and over a spotlight for the lesser known queens and the queens who received a villain edit. If they didn't think it was profitable, they probably would have never gone in that direction to begin with. And on top of that, I can already imagine what's going to happen in the next seasons, because it's already happening today. With the usual idiots with two working neurons spamming YouTube and social media with comments about "Don't blame it on the edit, you're the one who said it, bitch." What a fucking nightmare. And remember, whenever you hear a queen saying, well, there's nothing to do with the edit, you have to own what you say and blah blah blah, that is code for I don't want to put my career at risk. I want to continue work with the biggest franchise in drag history, so I will just go along with this story. That's what they mean. Read between the lines. And the saddest thing about this whole situation is that RuPaul could have used her platform to actually make things better, you know? She could have. She is the face of the franchise. She is one of the highest ranking producers at World of Wonder, and she is undoubtedly the most successful drag queen in history. She could have used her platform to tell the younger viewers that, hey, the show is fake. We exaggerate things. We make people say things they don't mean. They know it. We know it. Everyone knows it. That's because it makes the show more entertaining. It's fun. It's fun for that 1 hour. It has to be messy. It has to be stupid. Just have fun with it. When the show is over, just remember that what you saw on TV was not real. Think of the queens as actors. You know, she could have said this kind of things. She could have, but she didn't. And why would she? I mean, we are talking about a person that deactivated her Twitter account after George Floyd was murdered. And the show is already profitable the way it is. So instead, she just doubled down on the narrative that you are responsible for your own words, independently of the context in which they get used. And if that is the case, then by RuPaul's logic, I should be allowed to fucking say that she hates kids with disability, that she would like to hurt them. Why not? Bitch, you said it. How are you going to regret it? You know what, I find it gaggy that RuPaul is out there, basically telling the queens that if they portray you like a bitch, take your words out of context, make up shit, you should own all of that. You just should own it. But if someone makes fun of her wearing sweatpants when she's behind the judges panel, ooh, then they get a fucking copyright strike. Way to put your money where your mouth is, RuPaul, isn't it? But of course, we know where your money is. It's in the bank. Can we talk about the fracking again? Oh, I'm sorry, it's not your fault, it's your husband. As if you didn't profit one way or the other from that as well. Technically, only works for you. Well, thank God, at least we have queens willing to speak up against it, which is gaggy. Now, I know the vixen is not necessarily the easiest queen to relate to, but then when she has a fucking point, she really goes for the jugular. And who do you know? Even Ilona Farley jumped in. Because RuPaul's new hit is Gaslighting in a Bottle. I stan. How can I not stand? Now, it's been speculated that this song was published in reactions to Jeffrey's interview and the situation with Canada's Drag Race Season 1. Now, it could be, I'm not excluding it, but I don't really think so, because I don't think RuPaul really gives two shits about spin-offs in general, let alone the ones in which she's not even hosting. And also, I don't see it really likely that someone wrote the lyrics, music, and autotune RuPaul in what, like 3 weeks? I would bet that it was supposed to be a preemptive move in case production faced backlash due to Jen's villain edit on All-Star 6. Now, of course, the vast majority of the people bought it, so maybe there was no need for that. Or maybe RuPaul was just too busy waxing her Russie for summer vacation and didn't have time to scream into a microphone. Or maybe something happened this summer when they filmed the U.S. season for next year and she's just trying to get ahead of the game. In that case, brace for fucking impact. And that's all for today. If you like what you heard, you can support the channel on Patreon and help us deliver more content for the channel. And a warm welcome to Terry Smith, Pierre Debrier, Allison, Insulin Dependent Skank, and Antonio DiMaggio, who just joined the past weeks. See you soon, and have a great day.